Hey, what's up, guys? This is Justin, and I'm here with Shane, and we are just going to give you four quick tips on how to start but then stay consistent with any positive change you want to see in your life. So it's geared specifically towards the 30 by 30, but this applies to really any positive change you want to see in your life, from starting to move more, eat better, all of that kind of stuff. These are tools that are from the 30 by 30 program, but we've kind of teased out four really practical tips to get you started. So we got four of them today, and I'll send it to Shane for the first one.
Right on. Yeah, so we were seeing that a lot of people they wanted to start the program, were getting into it, but they didn't yet have the tools that they were going to actually get into the program to make this stick. So one of the first things that I think really helps you stick with any change you're trying to see is just sort of a positive peer pressure. So having some sort of social support that you're gonna be accountable to, and that's gonna pull you in whatever direction you're gonna want to be. So that could happen really organically, just by sharing with people that you're starting something and you're excited for it, and you want to make sure you follow through, so that you're going to get people to ask you about it, and to hold you accountable just naturally. It could happen by seeking out mentors who are that maybe it's in a you're trying to be more active, so you seek out mentors and kind of set a consistent time that you're going to check in with them. And just by going to them in the first place, you're going to set up a relationship where they're gonna want to know how your progress is going. So you feel a little bit of you feel a sort of duty to follow through, to be accountable to them. And that can happen with friends, or anyone that you want to go through something with. So if you say, "Hey, let's do this," maybe it's the 30 by 30. Let's do this together. Now you really feel a sense of duty to follow through, and so you're trying to leverage your social situation to get you the outcome you'd like to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is the positive peer pressure. So Justin, you want to talk about the next principle?
Yeah, I'll start by saying that that's why we called it the 30 by 30 challenge. It was meant to be something that you do with some peers, a journey that you take with someone, to hold each other accountable and have someone to bounce those new ideas off of. But the second big one, and this is, I think, so, on some level we all sort of know it, but we still bite off way more than we can chew. And that second tip is to start small. And the goal in the beginning shouldn't be to take any specific action or do any specific habit. It should just be to do it every day. Right? So it's easy to, there's a couple reasons for this. One, it's easy to get bogged down in the exact details of what you're doing, right? Say you're trying to journal. What should I be writing about? Oh, this probably isn't very good writing. This is silly. I shouldn't be doing it. There's all this like kind of inner dialogue that goes on with it. Same thing with working out. What should I be doing? How many sets of this? How many reps? Am I doing this right? All this kind of stuff. When in the beginning, you should really just be focusing on doing it. No matter what you're doing, just being consistent and getting it done is far more important than what you actually do on those early days. So if you're starting to meditate, try 2 minutes, try 90 seconds, whatever it may be. If you're trying to work out every day, maybe get up and do 10 push-ups and 10 squats. It takes you 35 seconds, and then you start your day. It's really just building the habit of showing up consistently, and doing it, because from there that habit can expand and you can get more into the details of what you're actually doing. But in the early phases, it should really just be about doing it more than what you're doing. So that is the starting small thing. I mean, it can be so small that you basically guarantee that you will do it every day. If 10 squats is all you think you can manage in the beginning, perfect. I'd rather have you do that than do this crazy long workout every day and then not do another one tomorrow. So that's the starting small thing. We try to build the 30 by 30 around that principle. But in anything that you're trying to do on your own, make it so small that you basically guarantee that you are going to do it every day. So that's number two. Kick it back to you for number three.
Yeah, it's a great way of making it so that you don't talk yourself out of it. You know
Mm.
you can do this much, and so often action begets more action. You've already started, so now you can do a little bit more. But if you don't demand that up front, I love that. The next one is a consistent time, and this is huge. So often people are like, I'm going to do this, I'm excited, and then they don't actually have a plan. They haven't carved out the time in their day. So what happens is, they're excited in the first couple of days, they do it, but then those next few days they haven't carved out the time, so they wake up late, whatever it is, their day gets away from them. They're immediately absorbed in all these other tasks that are just required in our busy lives, and by the time they finally do get a spare second, they're exhausted from the day. All right, they haven't carved out the time, or they do get a second, but oh shoot, my buddy asked if I'd meet him to play racquetball or something like that, and so they're left between, do I keep this good habit, or do I do something I know is good for me too? It's a friendship I want to uphold. So if you really want to see a habit through and get some momentum going, carving out a specific time you're going to do it every single day, that consistent time, doing that up front makes all the difference. That might be the most important thing, is to actually plan a time, make sure you have time, stage the area, and make sure that you and know the day before when you're going to do that. And if the more consistent it is, the better, because that's how habits are formed. So I would recommend, usually the morning is going to be your the time of day where you can be the most consistent. Waking up is a very consistent cue, and the more the day goes on, the more unexpected things can kind of jump in our path. So consistent time, and probably the morning, is number three.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And schedule it, right? I mean, it becomes as immutable a part of your schedule as any other prior commitment, because at least to you personally, this is just as important. But
Absolutely.
that's great. And then the final thing is kind of in line with the consistent time, but we call it reducing friction between you and that habit. In the program and in previous articles, we call this area choice architecture and environmental. It's really more environmental design, and it comes with changing your living situations, your schedule, just all the kind of logistical details of your life to support that change that you want to see. So reducing the friction. So it's one of the biggest concepts here is it's hard to decide in the moment to do something new, but it's easy to commit your future self to it, right? So if you can use a little bit of willpower, the example I give in the program is packing a gym bag the night before and leaving it by the door, so that all you have to do is grab it on the way out, and then leaving it in the front seat instead of the back seat or the trunk, so that it's even easier to just grab it and walk into the gym. And there's all these other ways. I mean, you hear people talk about put good food in front of the bad food in front of your cupboards, and even more extreme is just don't have the bad food in the cupboards at all. But if you have to have it, you know what I mean, the occasional piece of chocolate or bottle of wine or something like that, put it in the back of the cupboard, so when you open it up, you see, nuts and that kind of stuff staring you in the face, not the chocolate or the cookies or that kind of stuff. So it's really just making these subtle changes that kind of grease the path towards those new habits that you want to see, and then you can apply the opposite of this in trying to increase some friction between the bad choices. So the example of putting the stuff that you want to eat less of in the back of the cabinet, there's a little bit more work to get to it. There's all sorts of ways you can do that. You can even just getting a closing living room cabinet so that the TV is not in visual range. It's one more. You don't see it, and it doesn't cue you to watch it. It's one more step that you have to open before you get to do it. I've heard of people even unplugging their TV and putting it in the closet, so they have to get it out and plug it in when they want to watch. It forces you to be a lot more intentional. So reducing friction between the things that you want to see yourself do, and adding a little bit of friction to make the actions that you want to try to avoid and train out a lot harder, put a couple extra steps, and maybe even some physical boundaries between you and those things.
Sure. One of the things that jumps out at me that might be a friction point if you're waking up and you have a plan. Hey, I want to do my 30 by 30. I've got 30 minutes. And then you grab your phone and you get sucked into an email. You see an email, boom, and you have to respond. Someone said such and such, and all of a sudden you're already in a reactive mode. So a great way to increase friction to that is then just to charge your phone in a different area, and then make sure that you go to set up your 30 by 30 before you see your phone, because that phone is now out of sight, out of mind. There's more friction between you and that step.
Absolutely. Phones, I think, add constant friction to almost every change that we want to see. So
Sure.
that intentional phone use is a huge part of taking back control of your life, and it's also a huge theme throughout the 30 by 30. So check that out. But I think that's it. We think about those 4 things as you are going through and making changes. Again, that is some positive peer pressure and kind of a positive social context. Starting small. What was our third one? Sorry, a consistent time, and then reducing friction between you and these new positive actions. So thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you in the 30 by 30.